Greetings, dear listeners. Before today's story begins, a story about hunger, inheritance, and the precise moment a woman stops shrinking, I ask you to support this channel. Please subscribe, press like, and write in the comments where you're listening from. It reminds us that no one is ever truly alone. Now, listen carefully.
The front door had closed an hour ago, but the echo of it still vibrated in my bones. Not the sound itself, the intention behind it. My son had left in a hurry, cheerful and careless, dragging my bank card out of his pocket as if it were his own. He said he'd be gone just a week, maybe 2, just enough time to breathe, to relax, to reset. "You'll be fine, Mom," he said lightly. "You barely eat anyway." The house absorbed his absence too quickly. That frightened me more than the silence. I stood in the kitchen, barefoot on cold tiles, listening to the clock above the sink. Its ticking sounded louder without witnesses, like it finally felt safe to complain. I opened the pantry. The shelves stared back at me, clean, bare, humiliating. No rice, no canned soup, no bread tucked behind good intentions. I checked the refrigerator. A lonely jar of mustard, half a shriveled onion, an expired carton of milk. I closed the door gently, like one does with sleeping children or dying hope. Hunger is a strange thing. It doesn't scream at first. It waits. It watches. I sat at the table and folded my hands the way I used to during church prayers, not because I believed someone would help me, but because my body remembered humility better than anger. That was the moment something shifted. Not rage, not despair. Clarity. I walked into the living room and saw it for what it truly was. Not a home, a museum. Every object behind glass, every surface protected, every chair covered in fabric for later. Later that never arrived. The china cabinet gleamed in the evening light, plates thin as breath, rims traced with gold. They had fed no one. They had comforted no one. They had only waited. The grandfather clock stood in the corner, counting time I was not allowed to spend. Paintings hung where warmth should have been. Antiques, valuable, respected, untouched. I suddenly understood something brutal and simple. I was starving inside a vault. All my life I had preserved things for my son, and he had preserved nothing from me. I reached for the newspaper stack by the sofa, the one he always called trash. The classified section crackled under my fingers. I found the ad I had circled weeks ago without admitting why. Private buyer, antiques, silver, paintings, honest appraisal, house calls. I stared at the phone. My hands shook, not from fear, from permission. The man arrived at 9 sharp. Gray coat, calm eyes, the posture of someone who had spent a lifetime measuring worth without apology. He walked through my living room slowly, observantly. His expression shifted just a fraction. "You live among serious pieces," he said carefully. "I live among silence," I replied. I showed him the silver tea set first, heavy, ornate, generations old. He examined it with reverence. "These are exceptional," he said. Then he named a price. A month ago, I would have accepted immediately, grateful, ashamed, quiet. Instead, I shook my head. "No." He blinked. "I know what you'll resell it for," I said calmly. "I want fairness, not charity." We negotiated. I surprised both of us. When he left, my hands were full of cash, real money, and the cabinet behind me was lighter. The house exhaled. So did I. I didn't go to the discount store. I went to the expensive one, the kind with warm lighting and employees who don't look away when you ask for help.
I bought bread still warm from the oven, cheese that smelled like grass and patience, fruit so ripe it bruised if you looked at it too long. I bought meat sliced thin and careful like it respected itself. At home, I laid the table properly. I used the forbidden plate, the good fork. I ate slowly, not because I was hungry, but because I was reclaiming something. Each bite tasted like apology withdrawn. He came back sunburned and smiling, suitcase rolling, voice loud. "Mom, I'm starving!" He walked straight to the refrigerator, opened it, and screamed. The fridge was full, packed, radiant, overflowing, food that demanded attention, food that announced presence. He turned to me, pale. "What did you do?" "I ate," I said simply. His eyes darted around the room. Where was the cabinet? Where was the clock? Where were the paintings? "Where's my inheritance?" he whispered. I smiled. "You spent it on the beach." "You're sick," he said finally. "Mentally sick." He threatened doctors, lawyers, institutions. I waited. When the antique dealer returned with paperwork, notarized and clean, the room fell silent. My son shrank. The neighbor, my witness, sat at the table eating bread and shaking her head. "About time," she muttered. That night, after he stormed out, I found the folder, a care facility brochure, a power of attorney draft, my name, his signature. The plan was neat, efficient. He hadn't just expected my death, he had scheduled it. I didn't cry. I sold the rest. When he returned days later, demanding entry, the locks didn't answer him. I spoke through the door. "Find somewhere else to live." "You can't do this," he said. I just did. Silence followed, then footsteps leaving. Weeks passed. The apartment became lighter, smaller, kinder. I kept only what I loved: a chair, books, sunlight. I booked a trip, not to escape, but to arrive somewhere new. On the balcony, coffee warm in my hands, I tasted something unfamiliar: freedom. This story isn't about cruelty. It's about arithmetic. When sacrifice is endless, it becomes permission. When love starves itself, it teaches others to feed. I chose myself, not because I hated my child, but because I finally respected my life. And that, dear listeners, is the moment the pantry spoke back. If you liked this story, please like the video, subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and tell me, where are you listening from? With love and respect.